I was a skeptical newly graduated man. I had only hours previously graduated from high school, and I had received my share of awards and scholarships. I was proud of my achievements, and so were a great many people. However, I was not merely content with returning home to sleep on that, and so I went to a party of sorts at the local community center. The party featured some of my friends, but mostly acquaintances. Like most people at a party, we spent most of our time eating and screwing around. It was in the gymnasium that we danced to various disco tracks that the DJ played. There was a video game truck parked outside that some of us played in. There was also, in the other gymnasium, an assortment of laser tag equipment that we all played with. But as the night went on, laser tag turned into a hypnotism show. A hypnotist selected 12 volunteers in the gym, and we all sat in a single row of chairs. I was among the volunteers. The rest of the party goers watched from the bleachers opposite us. The hypnotist warned that the hypnosis wouldn't work if you didn't allow the effects to affect you. I shrugged this off. I was sure this was just a parlor trick. He demonstrated a hypnosis trick that was able to literally, at the snap of a finger, make the victim fall asleep. I saw this happen to the person next to me, and I thought that the person next to me, who I forgot who it was, just played along. The hypnotist went on to try hypnosis tricks on the volunteers. He was able to make people dance in an unconscious effort, speak, sing, and even feel temperatures like extreme heat and cold. When he got to me, it didn't really work. It made me feel really weak, but it wouldn't make me fall asleep. This was probably annoying to him after a while, because his tricks didn't work the same way on me that they did for others. All the while, unlike some of the volunteers, I was able to see and understand what was happening. Other volunteers reported when awakening that they didn't remember what happened, but I could see, feel, and remember everything. At one point, the magician eventually tried to make me dance like a stuffed monkey. He would move his arms of the monkey and everyone else would move in the same way, kinda like a voodoo doll. When he tried it on me, I simply collapsed onto the floor. It was then that he realized that the preparation procedure that he had done to make me pass out like the others had not been working correctly. He had me lie on the floor in front of the row of chairs, and hypnotized me to close my eyes. Have you ever seen a person's eyes where they're in the REM stage of sleep? It's a weird thing to see. The person's eyes move rapidly under their eyelids, and you can see it. That's what I felt with my eyes. They were closed, but I could feel them twitching against my eyelids the whole time. As the hypnotist continued his hypnosis performance with the other volunteers, I lay on the floor and I began to twitch. At first it was barely noticeable, and it would escalate. Few people from the audience noticed at first. The show went on and my body twitched in reaction to the tricks he was performing. Eventually I tried to pull myself up and stand, but I found that my arms felt like they were made of lead. You know, like really heavy metal. Sometimes he would see me trying to get up, and he would use hypnosis to make me lay back on the floor. One time I was able to stand fully, and I managed to get back to my seat that I had been in before prior to the beginning of the show. I was still twitching a whole lot, and it was somewhat disturbing to the audience. But most people in the audience already thought that I was a spaz, so it didn't mean much to them. At one point, one asked if I was on drugs. I felt like I was dying inside. The hypnotist really didn't care. He performed a trick where he got everyone to pretend they were holding a heavy bucket of water in front of themselves. It was a trick where he hypnotized our bodies to become really weak in the arms. It felt like 2 tremendous weights were being dropped onto my arms. I was shaking uncontrollably. He said release, like he would for every trick, and I shook intensely. Eventually the show was over and everyone was released from his hypnosis, but something didn't go right with me. I stood up from my chair and I was shaking and twitching. Though I knew what was happening, I had limited motor controls and movement was shaky and unstable. I tripped while walking out of there, and a walk turned into a run. I ran into the drinking fountain and I splashed a bunch of water on my face. My heart was beating intensely. It didn't do me anything. They would ask me if I was alright, and my answers were unintelligible strings of words. My fellow graduates were all looking at me like I was high. I was starting to panic in the midst of all this. It was like the stories of people on bath salts. They're like spectators on the inside watching as their brains get hijacked. My voice slurred, and my pitch of voice was inconsistent. Sometimes I would whisper and sometimes I would scream. I ran to the other gymnasium where the DJ stuff was. I collapsed on the floor and someone rushed over asking me if I was okay. I was trying to get up, but these people were convinced that I was having some sort of seizure because they were trying to keep me from standing. Eventually, the ambulance and my parents were called. It was 2 a.m. and the EMTs arrived trying to assess my condition. They checked my heart rate and sure enough, it was off the walls. They checked my breathing and found it to be erratic. They had me drink water, a lot of water, some of which I couldn't hold in. The hypnotist came around and was at a loss of what to do. He claimed to have never seen anything as bad as this. After about 15 minutes, I calmed a bit, still twitching and shaking a whole lot. The EMTs wanted for my blood to be tested. Nearly everyone was convinced that I was on drugs. I managed to convince the EMTs to let me go home. Despite my obviously slurred voice of unsteady steps, I was still shaking and twitching when I went to bed. The event for me was really quite embarrassing. Not only that, but when I found myself writing on an account for this story, I found my hands were shaking as I typed. Me personally, I don't believe this event to be supernatural, but I can easily see why some people could think of it that way. Ultimately, I don't know, but I think of hypnosis as being a dangerous and somewhat uncharted of human conditions. I don't joke about hypnosis anymore. The day after, my friend messaged me about it, and I took a note of their messages from Facebook. This is what they said. "Hey, are you alright, Seth?" "Yeah, I'm good now. I'm sorry that I scared everyone." "Oh, it's cool, man. Made the night a little more exciting." I felt weak and pathetic after the whole ordeal. I didn't talk to many people that summer, and I tried desperately to forget about it all. But you can't forget about your own body being hijacked.